Hello, thank you all for being here for my first sermon. I'd like to also give thanks to Jim and the band for their amazing musical talents. Yes. They did really well with the songs I requested. I have to admit, I've been a healthy amount of nervous for this, but it's okay because my mom is here in the purple. Yay! My intention for this time is to share with you what I've learned on my journey to becoming a disciple of the Son and what that means. I hope you're able to learn something, make connections, or if anything, be reminded of lessons you have already learned. And before I get into the heart of my message, I figured I should tell you why I chose to share about the importance of the sun. My primary qualification in solar theology is that my zodiac sign is Leo. Just kidding, I tend not to take astrology too seriously, but it does say that my assigned planetary body is the sun, and I agree. On a more serious note, I came to respect the sun along my spiritual journey after I stopped practicing my Catholic roots. Like many of you may understand, as a side note, if you want to know how deep those roots are, my last name, Palitza, is a bishop vestment worn in Eastern European Catholic churches. My unorthodox journey began as a teenager about 1 decade ago when I realized that I resonated heavily with pantheism, or the theology that reality, the universe, and the cosmos are identical to divinity and a supreme being or entity. In short, all is sacred. Through this, I began to strengthen my connection to nature, as our planet's environment is part of the universe that we interact with daily. This relationship grew as I went to college to obtain a bachelor's in environmental science, and there are so many abundant lessons one can learn from studying ecosystems, but that's a whole other sermon. The solar aspect really drove itself home once I got the nickname Sunflower in 2018 for always cultivating a positive mindset among my friends and, of course, being as tall as a sunflower. This comparison led me to ponder what would happen if I intentionally faced the sun every day. What could one learn from the great ball of fire in our sky? You may have noticed in the opening words by Malkia Cyril, she praises the continuous change of nature, and yet my sermon title is the solar constant, because yes, the universe is always changing, but one thing that will continue to happen is the sun will rise. The sunrise can be an infinite combination of breathtaking colors or sometimes hidden by clouds, but every day on our human timescale, we are woken by the bright warmth of sunshine. And the sun's path across our sky is a phenomenon so reliable that it drives our society forward into productivity and later in the evening, rest. And this relationship for me is a profound occurrence that I appreciate with my entire being. We and all life on Earth would not exist without the sun. We're placed on the perfect sized planet at just the right distance to not freeze or burn. It's also determined by our atmosphere, but the situation is so harmonious that it allowed for the unique creation of our biodiverse Earth and the human species, and we must not take this fantastic opportunity of life for granted. Ultimately, everything we consume is fueled by solar power. Plants transform these magical photons into edible vegetables and fruits, and then animals eat the plants and so forth. Whether we humans consume plants or animals, the source of our bodily energy is the sun, and I think that's so beautiful. Not only energy from food, but all electricity is derived from solar. Fossil fuels were once organisms that stored carbon in their bodies from metabolism fueled by solar energy. Wind energy is ruled by the heating of the earth from weather patterns due to solar availability. And it took me a bit longer to see the connection with hydroelectricity from dams, but the sun helps to drive the water cycle, so there you go. But of course, you likely in some way already knew these past points, but how many times do these concepts come into your conscious thoughts? How often are you aware in a day or week of the energetic pathways of the material world you come into contact with? Our species' role in the ecosystem and the solar system can be a lot for a human individual to not only comprehend, but hold in one's heart. This existential thinking drives many young people towards action and becoming resilient in the predicament of climate change. But often we choose to distract ourselves within the abundant superficial stimulations our society provides because it can be painful to try to understand or perceive the human condition. When I first became aware of my own consciousness in relation to the wide universe, I felt like I opened a void and did not know what to do or be or think. And to reconcile this in a way that made sense to me, I began addressing the foundation of this human consciousness as the source, to which we are all connected to in various degrees of awareness. Before I even knew Unitarian Universalism was a religion, I began naming the source universe. As a spiritual scientist, it makes perfect sense to me to pray to the universe since it's the largest known phenomena in our existence. Can it hear my prayers? I don't know, but that's not really what matters. The building of my relationship to the universe gave me a grounding sense of purpose and fulfillment that I and we are expressions of the cosmos. But then I needed to narrow it down to an even more connected level, so here comes the sun. Just gonna get some water. In just our Milky Way galaxy, there are 3,500 stars with planets circling around them. And that's cool and all, but if you've ever read The Little Prince, you know that like his rose, our sun is special because it is ours. In the realm of climate science, the study of the sun's interaction with the Earth is called heliophysics. Experts in this field have calculated that the annual amount of incoming solar radiation to the Earth, measured on a surface perpendicular to the rays, is 1,370 watts per meter squared, which is the actual solar constant and my inspiration for this sermon. However, because our planet is spherical, we really get about a fourth of that energy at an irradiance average of 340 watts per square meter entering the atmosphere, and about a quarter is reflected by clouds or absorbed by the gases in the atmosphere, all that to glimpse into the complicated physics of what goes on above our heads. The only thing humans can really control in the field of heliophysics is the efficiency of our solar panels, meaning the percent of photons that are available to be captured and transformed into electricity. The average is currently about 22%, and I truly love that humans figured out this technology, but I think plants still do it better. Sure, the photosynthetic efficiency is actually lower at up to 6%, but plants don't require fossil fuel inputs or an unfathomably long supply chain like the manufacturing of photovoltaic cells for human-made solar panels. Silicon and lithium mining have a whole lot of environmental and social problems, and I think the YouTube channel Our Changing Climate puts it best when they say, solar panels under an imperialist fascist state do nothing to change the destructive and exploitative relationship with the planet and other humans. Yes. We need to create cultures based on care for our community, modeled after the sun's method of not choosing which plants deserve to receive sunshine. The sun does not capitalize on its abundant and much needed energy, and neither should we. I would have loved to tie in here why we need to grow eco-socialism, but that's not my well-versed topic. So if you want to learn more about the political ideologies that stem from nature, I recommend watching the video by Our Changing Climate called How We Can Build a Solar Punk Future. It's very inspirational. And I feel the need to share a little more science with y'all, if you'll let me, because the nuclear fusion of stars is too astounding to ignore. Every second, the atoms inside of our sun are bouncing around with energy that, when they collide, fuse together and create new elements. This process emits both the heat and light that make their way to the Earth. All matter in the universe heavier than hydrogen is the result of nuclear fusion. Truly heavy elements such as gold, lead, or uranium can only be created through supernova explosions. Therefore, all the substances we're familiar with on Earth are compounds built out of the debris of past stellar demise. I encourage you to hold in your heart that the iron flowing through your blood was forged in the core of some ancient star long, long ago before it landed on our planet. So, you may have wondered, why are we listening to a sermon about the sun when it's Father's Day? The real reason is that the summer solstice is this Wednesday, the 21st, and I wanted you all to be intentionally aware of the longest day of the year at 13 hours and 54 seconds of sunlight for us here in Corpus, but I'll get back to that. Since today, June 18th, is in celebration of fathers, I must acknowledge the paternal wisdom that one can grow if connected to the sun. Now, I am not nor ever will be a father, but I encourage those that are to explore what the sun means to you and find what you can learn from it. Many religions throughout history understood the importance of our solar father. The ancient Egyptians named their sun deity Ra. He was the god of sun, order, kings in the sky, and all beings were believed to have been created by Ra. The sun is the giver of life, warmth, and growth, without which none of us would be here. Its daily consistency is necessary for all earthly beings to not only survive, but thrive. The Romans worshiped the sun god Helios, also known as Sol Invictus, or the unconquered sun. This devotion occurred until Constantine I abandoned Sol in favor of, you guessed it, Christianity. The last inscription referring to Sol Invictus dates to 387 AD. However, I find this switch over from the sun to Christianity interesting, as December 25th marked the so-called Feast of the Sol Invictus before it became officially recognized as the birthday of Christ. In St. Peter's Cathedral in Rome, there is a depiction of Jesus as Helios with his chariot flying across the sky. And so it made me wonder if instead of a more fatherly figure, is our sun actually the Son, S-O-N, of God? And I no longer have qualms with the word God, but each time I hear a Christian talking about Jesus, I try to imagine they're talking about the sun. It's quite entertaining. And it also rises again and watches over us. And I actually found some scriptures indicating such. In John 8:12, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, "I am the light of the world." Matthew 17:2, his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. In John 1:3-8, through him all things were made, without him nothing was made that has been made, which translates to, without the sun nothing would grow and we'd all be dead. In Ephesians 5:14, Christ will shine on you. There are even many books written on this topic, including one by Charles Francois Dupuy, The Origin of All Religious Worship, first published in 1798. Chapter 4 is titled An Explanation of the Fable in which the sun is worshipped under the name of Christ. And I wish I could have read this book in preparation for this sermon, if only I had known about it sooner. But if you're interested in reading about this comparison, I found an insanely detailed website of research called solarmythology.com. Now, I'm convinced a major reason I feel so connected to the sun is that I've lived my whole life in Texas, and I'm not sure if y'all have noticed, but we get a lot of sun here. In Corpus, the annual average of sunny days is 223, which is 20 more days of sun than the national average. The root of this connection could also be because my birthday is in July. And growing up, summer was my favorite time of year with good tans from endless swimming. I know that humans need sunshine to produce vitamin D, but I can feel how my happiness and sanity is correlated not only to the amount of time I spend outside, but the amount of time I spend in the sun. And I encourage you all to try to photosynthesize, if only for 2 minutes. Stand in a puddle of outdoor light and bask it in. Open your arms wide and feel nothing but gold enter your veins. It's quite the medicine. Like any good thing, however, there is a downside. Like mentioned in the story, if you become too attached to this celestial body, you may be quite disappointed in 6 months. The hours of the day dwindle from now almost 14 down to 10 hours and 23 minutes of cold winter sun. However, those of us who suffer from seasonal depression can take a wise lesson from the plant world. Store some energy for later. Find a pocket of your mind, body, or soul where you can deposit some solar energy for those inevitable days when it's too cold or cloudy outside to photosynthesize. Seriously, I intentionally did this last winter, and I held on to my sanity for much longer than previous years. If you're the opposite of me and do not like the summer heat, then first I pray for your AC bill, but also try to flip what I just said and store winter chill to carry you over, if that's what you need to do. Like any good mental health exercise, there needs to be a backup plan. Thus comes in an elemental balance. If you're a summer baby, then fire is your birthright because it's from the sun. Those who favor the winter likely appreciate a cloudy, windy day. To create a natural equilibrium, enjoy a bonfire in January, or the opposite, savor our Corpus wind that cuts the 90-degree temperatures. In between, there's water to cool during beach and pool days, or warm in the hot tubs and baths. But for the whole year, no matter the time of day or season, there will always, hopefully, be soil. So as you perceive your own elemental balance, consider building and strengthening a relationship to the ground in which we all walk upon. While growing my soul's roots into this world, I found this Roald Dahl passage which has grounded me for many years now, and it reads, "A person who has good thoughts cannot ever be ugly. You can have a wonky nose and a crooked mouth and a double chin and stick out teeth, but if you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely." Love can look like many things, and I could rave for hours on end about how everyone should love themselves first. To love someone or something is to show up for it, be there time and time again, sometimes simply appreciating existence together, to support and or nurture growth. The sun and earth do this for us. They show care for us every day and every moment by providing us what we need to be alive. Of course, does that mean that when we die, the universe doesn't love us anymore? Of course not. There are just larger forces at play than humanity. We have our time now to experience awe at the sunrises and sunsets. So let's enjoy that, because some people aren't so lucky anymore. Now, I have a pop quiz for y'all. There are no wrong answers. Raise your hand if you believe the earth loves us. Okay, you can lower them. Raise your hand if you believe the sun loves us. All right, you can lower them. For the last question, you can think about it now or silently reflect later. How do you show your love for the universe? Before I get off this podium, I feel the need to share with you the best place in Corpus to watch the sunset. It's called Berners Beach, also known as the Bowl, and it is a dip in the sand dune line about 3 miles south of Bob Hall Pier. It is spectacular because it's the highest natural place in the region with roughly 30, 40-foot dunes and nothing but national seashore between you and the sky. I pray that it stays that way forever. While watching the last sunbeams bounce off the sand one evening, my friend made a simple but remarkable statement to me. He said, "The sun is not setting, but rather we on the earth are slowly rotating away from it." And the image of us all on a big green rock is so humbling. My answer to how do I show my love for the universe, I wake up and think, wow, I'm alive, thank you. Thank you, sun, for rising each morning so we can have light and food and heat. We are so blessed, not just with the comforts of modern life, but to have the chance to proclaim our gratitude. One could hypothesize that the source to our consciousness is love, but I'll stop on that topic and let Roger take it away next week. In conclusion, I'd like to thank my mother for showing me the classic movie Gone with the Wind. It instilled a key facet of my soul, that even if times are tough, the sun will rise again, because after all, tomorrow is another day. Thank you.